Rhino, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Kelly, were you and Tom talking? The queso cowboy?
Yeah, we were talking.
I don't know if you even know this, but I'm sure he might have written it down somewhere else. But I love the title for next year's Tom Stock. It's Tom Stock 2024, the Queso Cowboys birthday roundup.
That's good. That is good. That is good.
Yeehaw!
Yep.
We need to talk to somebody about getting a drawing of, and maybe we talk to Scott about this, but we get a drawing of Fred the Sock with either a cowboy hat or a sombrero on, and maybe a piece of cake in his hand or something.
Yeah, that's not a bad idher.
The sombrero
to put on our poster.
The sombrero, because that's what you had at the last one. Yeah.
And put that on the poster. I love. And Scott could draw it. Holy moly, Tom! I actually today. Well, actually, no. It's tomorrow, but it was some time ago that I packaged up your shirt, drove it across the border into Buffalo, into Niagara Falls, New York, and mailed it. And there's stickers in there.
Oh, happy day! Happiness is mine.
Yeah. It was the only shirt I did, but no.
Well, that makes me feel even more special if I was the only one.
Yeah, well, it's not. I did about 30 of them today.
You make them feel good for a few seconds.
So this is Kelly. This is just a regular Monday episode.
Okay,
where we interview somebody.
Ooh.
So
who are we interviewing?
We're interviewing a guy named Andy Zimmerman.
Oh.
Who I first discovered he is a regular on the Wednesday night chats.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought he was just kind of an annoying guy. But then I met him at Springfield, and he turned out to be quite a pleasant chap.
Mm.
And I thought, geez, we got to get Andy because he speaks up. He's perfect. He's perfect podcast material because he speaks up. He does lots of stuff. He lives in the Panhandle of Florida, and it's going to be very interesting. I'm very confident about this. But Tom, do you know because this is on Monday on the Free Channel? You know what the best part is?
I can guess.
It's brought to you by Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido Trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
There you go.
Yeah, good. Good.
You want to take a try at that, Kelly?
No. I don't want to take Tom's glory away from him. That's
no.
He's the only one that does that good. Yeah, and obviously Bruce, who is
careful. There,
is out of the country, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think at the time of this recording, he's still traveling around the British Isles. Creating havoc and mayhem.
Yeah,
meeting all sorts of people. Has he met Gordy yet? I haven't seen any pictures.
I haven't seen anything. No, I haven't seen anything. I know he had a brush with the law.
Oh, did he?
Well, there was a picture. It was a photo.
Yeah,
I guess they found out he was, had a connection with you probably, and that's why they were questioning
that was probably it. Yeah.
I know
they wanted stickers.
I know he and Gene got together with Peter Borchert and Lucy Cook, and last I saw, Bruce was making his way north to Scotland. So I would assume that at some point he'll continue on, and either Gordy will come south or Bruce will go north. I'm confident that those two will meet up at some point.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to spend like 3 days at Gordy's place.
Oh, wow, cool.
If I remember rightly. And you know who else is doing a cool trip right now? Is our buddy Morgan Pavia.
Pavia, going around the country.
He's going around he somehow ended up in Philadelphia. I went to that cheesesteak place. What was that cheesesteak place you told him to go to, Tom?
It's called Sonny's. Morgan, he messaged me, and unfortunately his schedule and the time of his arrival on the train and departure, it didn't work out for us to meet up, which I was really disappointed about, because I've been wanting to meet up with Morgan for a few years now. I was out in Phoenix for a work conference a few years ago, and we couldn't make it work then either. But he had messaged me and he said, "Hey, well, if we can't meet up, can you at least give me a recommendation for a place to get a Philly cheesesteak?" And so, knowing that he was, going to be primarily in the area of the train station and like the Liberty Bell and all that historical stuff, I gave him the recommendation for a sandwich shop that was within walking distance of Independence Mall. And apparently he and his daughter loved it. So it looks like he's been having a great time with his daughter. They've been going. They were in Newark looking for Dave and the Wiz. Newark, and I think they were in Pittsburgh yesterday or the day before. They're making their way now west, I guess.
Yeah,
it looks like they're having a great trip.
They went through Crescent, Pennsylvania, and past the station inn that Dave's always talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And he took a video of it, and so I froze the video of where they were going past the station inn, and I took a picture of it and sent it to Dave, and I said, "Hey, look, one of the AML Nation guys is going past," and Dave was kind of like, "Oh yeah, that's a freeze frame from a video," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I thought I would cheer you. I thought it'd be a little fun thing for you to say," and it was like, it turns out Uncle Dave isn't always Mr. Cheerful.
He was having a bad day.
Occasionally, when the trains aren't running and the stations are dirty, Dave, you don't want to get on the wrong side, Uncle Dave. But then, you know what I said to him, Tom?
What's that?
This podcast is brought to you by Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
There you go. All right, we killed 7 minutes, so we're going to talk to this Andy guy. I know hardly nothing about him. He's got a million things to say. He's something to do with the NMRA, Conformance and Standards or something. I don't know. And we'll ask him all kinds of questions. So be ready. Because this guy's interesting. This guy is money in the bank. And he's a retired Navy guy. And he's a computer guy, and he looks like a retired Navy guy. Not so much a computer guy, but a retired Navy guy. All right, Bruce, can you go get him?
Bruce is not here.
Good point.
Would you like the modeler known as Kelly to go get him?
But Kelly, you know what? If Bruce was here, you know what I'd say to him?
What would you say to him?
This free podcast is sponsored by.
You would say Rapido Trains.
Rapido Trains. Yeah, I forgot
Your
that.
Fast track to model railroading fun.
Man, I screwed that all up.
You did. You had the ball was coming right in there.
Yeah. That was belt high at 82 miles an hour, and I just watched it go by.
Threw his hand right up. Strike.
Yeah. The guy rung me up. All right, Kelly, would you please go get Andy?
Yeah, let me go down. I'll go get him.
All right.
Hey, Andy, come on up. They're ready for you.
Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, we're ready for you now.
You must
Andy.
have been eating the green shrimp.
Yeah. What else? I'm not supposed to eat those?
No. You weren't talking to either Queso or Kelly before the show started, were you?
Not really.
But sort of.
They said that was disallowed.
Yeah, it is disallowed. It's completely disallowed because that's when all the good stuff gets talked about.
It started coming out. We stopped him.
Yeah, there you go. You see, I bet you were talking about, what were you talking about before the show started?
When he was talking to me, he started talking, the stuff we're supposed to talk about on the podcast. And I said, no, we need to wait. And then.
All right, Andy.
So I waited.
Tom showed up. That's good.
That's good. So, Andy, how did you find the podcast to begin with?
So initially I was with Michelle Kempema, and she and I were talking about the AML. I'd come across the AML Facebook page, and she said that she was involved in some of the conversations on AML, and so she was on the Wednesday night chat, and she said, "You should join in. You'll love it." So I said, "Well, how do you go about doing that?" And she said, "Well, then you have to subscribe to the Patreon channel, and once you do that, you'll get the code for the Wednesday night chat, and you can go in and talk to anybody in the Wednesday night chat anytime you want. So long as it's on Wednesday." So
Yeah.
so I did that. And I went and put my funds where my mouth was, and I went in, sat down, got to know everybody, and I've enjoyed it ever since on Wednesday nights. So it's all Michelle Campama's fault.
It's always Michelle's fault. If it's not Kelly's fault, it's Michelle's fault. But anything Michelle does wrong, we blame Kelly anyways.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So how were you involved with Michelle?
Well, kind of a funny story, backstory.
Well, hang on there a minute. We kind of have a pretty firm rule here that you tell the story, and then me and Kelly and Queso will decide amongst ourselves whether or not it's funny.
Oh, roger that. So I meant funny, weird, not funny, haha. But so during the pandemic, I was having a hard time keeping my membership. I'm the president of the Model Railroad Club here in Tallahassee.
Okay.
Called the Big Bend Model Railroad Association.
Big Bend.
And we had
bend as like the bend in your elbow, the bend in your arm.
As in bend over. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's the Big Bend Model Railroad Association. We and I have a lot of old hats that they don't necessarily like Zoom, and they don't like getting on video meetings, and they don't want to talk. They want to get together, but obviously at that point in time, there was no getting together. So even though I live in the free state of Florida, it was the meeting places that we were at were really reticent to let more than a few people gather. So I started up a regular Zoom meeting, and I started reaching out to manufacturers and some of the MMRs and other people that I thought I could get into our third Tuesday chat, if you will, our business meeting and then discussion. And as such, I needed to, reach out and talk to these manufacturers. I was having a hard time getting anybody to actually sit down and talk. And one of the guys had just gotten back from Colorado and the Model Railroad Museum, and he said, you should reach out to Michelle Campama. And I said, well, who's she? And he told me who she was. And I reached out to Michelle via the email that he gave me. And she was very quick to answer my email and said she would be glad to talk about the Colorado Model Railroad Museum and everything that she's doing out there. So I hosted her on our Tuesday night get together, and she hit it out of the park, and everybody loved her. And so I happened to casually mention, well, if I could get half of these other manufacturers to join in, and like you did, I said I could keep all my membership happy. And she's like, well, who are you trying to get a hold of? And so when I told her, she goes, well, I know that person. I'll make a phone call for you. So she did, and the next thing I know, Intermountain was talking to us. Rapido Trains was talking to us. Mohan George from Rapido Trains,
right?
He gave us a couple of tours and talked about product and what have you.
That's cool.
Then we had Aethern come in and Soundtracks. So I spent the whole year, and just about every Tuesday that we got together, I had a new manufacturer and a new person to come in and give us a talk about something. And if I ever had a problem, I just kind of said, hey, Michelle, do you know anybody in this place? And she goes, I sure do. Let me call her. So
is there anybody she doesn't know?
Yeah, really.
now that I'm part of the NMRA and that Michelle and I hang out a lot, we're at a lot of the same places where the NMRA is concerned. Every place I go, everybody knows Michelle. And now I do have a funny story about that. So,
Well, okay, same rule applies.
Okay.
We're still kind of waiting for the funny part from the first story.
well, like I said, it was funny odd, not funny haha. So because it was the long way around to get to know Michelle. So.
Well, no, Kelly is funny odd.
Yeah, I'm odd. That's true.
Okay, what's this funny story?
Okay, so we were matter of fact, my first NMRA convention as the Standards and Conformance Chair was in St. Louis. And my job was to go around and talk to all the manufacturers, get their input, see what they need, how we can help, how the NMRA can improve business, and how can I help improve relationships with each of the manufacturers. So Michelle's like, well, I'll introduce you to some people. So we started walking around and talking to different manufacturers, and she would go up and everybody, hey, Michelle, and they give her a big hug. And then she's like, and I'm standing there like, third wheel.
A doorknob.
Anyway, and then so she would turn around and she'd go, this is my friend, Andy Zimmerman, and he's the new Standards and Conformance Manager for the NMRA. And I'm sure he would love to talk to you about what the NMRA can do. So I would talk to that CEO or CIO or COO of the company, and we would exchange cards and have a good discussion and get them invited and what have you. So as I'm walking around to every one of the manufacturers, the routine was the same. Michelle would go up, she'd smile, everybody would say, welcome her with open arms, big warm hug, and then like, who's this guy? You got to stalk her. So
felt like her little brother, probably.
I kind of did. So as we made our way around to the middle of the building, this gentleman steps out from Railsmith, and he looks at me and he goes, hey, you're Andy Zimmerman. And I'm like, well, yes, I am. He goes, I recognize you. And I said, okay. Well, I said, that's a first. And he goes, and who's this lovely young lady you're with? I'm like, I was stunned. I'm like, what? You don't know who Michelle Kempelman is? He goes, no, we've never met. And so Michelle's standing there like big smile on her face, and she's like, that's never happened to me. So anyway, so we kind of get a kick out of every now and then. It's the only time it's ever happened, but the manufacturer walks up and knows me from some obscure YouTube that I've done, and he didn't know who Michelle was.
So how did you end up as the Standards and Conformance Officer?
Well, at one point, Gordy needed a new Standards and Conformance department head, and they were busy going through and discussing who might be able to fill the shoes of Dee Voss, who had just, Carl Smay and Pete Steinmetz. So it was Dee, Carl, and then Pete Steinmetz. So as Pete was wanting to do some other things, they needed to find somebody to fill the Standards and Conformance Manager seat. So I think the conversation happened behind the scenes between Speed and Gordy, and Speed said, well, Andy would probably be a good fit for that position because he maintains that military mindset and gets things done. So their words, not mine. So,
okay. And you say Speed, you're meaning Gert Muller, right?
Right. So, and as I was out in my garage modeling one day, and the phone rings, and next thing I know, it's I'm getting called upon to take a shot at being the Standards and Conformance Chair because I needed somebody to step in quickly and get some long-standing issues taken care of. They made no bones about it. They said there would be some issues, and they needed somebody who was up to the task.
What kind of issues were there? Like, what was one or two of the issues that had?
Well, one of the issues was if you're an HO modeler and you'd gotten an HO gauge recently, the gauges were bowed. Now, they weren't on a tolerance, but they sounded like a World War II cricket or a World War I cricket. Anyway, you could pop and click these things and make them, You can send out Morse code with these things because they had such a bow in them.
Really? Mine doesn't. I've got 2 or 3 of those. Of course, mine are from 100 years ago.
Well, then you probably got one of the better ones before there was a issue with the
Tom,
the gauges.
Tom, does yours do that?
No, but again, mine. I have a standards gauge from years and years ago when I first got into the hobby, and that one does not bow or click.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah.
What about you, Kelly?
I've never noticed it, but after we're done here, I'm going to go into my brain room and check it out because I think it's kind of neat. You could click it, so you can make a lot of noise. Sounds.
So
they must have just used a cheaper steel or something because mine would hold up one end of my house.
I think what they did was they used a full stainless instead of half hard stainless, and they hit it hard enough that it bowed it because of that hard steel, and they had to do a double strike on it or something to that effect, and it caused them all to bow. So, and they
you're not going to be saying a lot of technical stuff that I don't understand, are you?
Well, I'm trying not to. That's why I'm sorry for the pauses. So,
because Kelly doesn't understand technical stuff either.
Okay. So, basically, what happened is they weren't out of tolerance, but the end user they didn't like it. They thought there was something wrong with it because it did that. So they went back to people like Walthers and other companies and said, "Hey, I just bought this from you. Can we please get a replacement because this one's bowed?"
How much does an NMRA gauge cost?
I haven't looked lately, but I think it's about. I want to say $7, but I think it's like $15 or something. I think it's $15.
Shouldn't they, hey, Kelly and Tom, shouldn't they be giving those away with a membership?
That would be a plus.
I thought they used to at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever paid for mine. I mean, I've had mine for 100 years, but I mean, I got 2 or 3 of them actually. And, but I don't think I ever paid. They should give those for memberships. I wouldn't kill them, I don't think. I mean, they can't cost that much to make.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I suppose.
So,
do you think it's more than a poker chip?
I would know.
Kelly's very excited about poker chips right now.
Yeah,
it's a long
definitely.
story, but it's a very long story.
I've got an AML poker chip.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Are you a $10 guy or a $5 guy on the Patreon?
$5.
Okay. Well, then hang on to that chip because it's valuable.
Okay.
So that was one of the issues was the standards gauge was out of gauge.
So the gauge was bowed, and the big kicker is the manufacturer decided he's not making gauges for the NMRA anymore.
Right.
So now we have all these gauges that nobody wants, and we have nobody to manufacture them.
Oh, geez.
So included.
Is that your job now to go find a manufacturer?
For the last year and a half, it's been my job to find another manufacturer and to get these things in production. Mm-hmm. And I am happy to tell you that we kept the hard press on and we were very persistent. And I managed to get a new manufacturer who's done a fantastic job of producing a whole nother replacement set of HO gauges. And the NMRA now has those gauges in their possession, and they are not bowed and they look gorgeous.
But wasn't it a gauge that did several different scales though? I mean, yeah. I got the old one and it looks like it's good for the tunnel and the whole 9 yards.
There is a clearance gauge and then there's a standards gauge. So, like the N scale gauge and the HO scale gauge and even the O scale standards gauge, they all snap into a piece of plastic that is the clearance gauge. So you put the two together and you get a clearance gauge, you take them apart and you have just your standards gauge.
Wow. Okay, the one I got's the metal one.
Right. The metal one is the standards gauge.
And then there's something else, you say.
Right. There's a clearance gauge that it snaps into.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Kelly?
Mhm.
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
So,
Sure.
it's $16. Member price $7. HO
Yeah.
standards gauge right here on the NMRA website. HO standards
Yeah,
gauge.
I was just going to go look that up.
Product not available.
It's available now.
It's available now. So how do you
Yeah.
find, you know what, Kelly and Tom?
Yes, sir.
We're never even going to get close to asking this guy all the questions.
Oh no,
no.
It's going to be another 15-parter.
I don't know about that. We'll see how entertaining he is the rest of the way. You're very entertaining, Andy. I'm just being,
You're being Lionel.
Yeah, exactly.
No worries. I've listened to enough podcasts. I get you.
Okay. Good. Then maybe someday you can explain me to me, or explain, or better yet, explain me to the psychiatrist. That would be even better.
Oh. How do I do that? It's like Lionel sent me here today to
I'll send
explain you to him so that he doesn't have to. He can't be here right now, so I'm going to explain.
There you go. Yeah, because she's pulling her hair out. So, I think I'll be the one that makes her quit.
Oh Lord.
So how does one go about finding somebody? How many did you get? First off, how many did you get made? What was
15,000.
15,000. So how does somebody go about finding somebody to? It doesn't seem like it would be that difficult. It's just a piece of metal that needs to be stamped out.
So you would think it would not be that difficult, but as every manufacturer wants something that's got volume so they can make money. If it's low volume, they're not necessarily going to want to play ball, or it's going to cost you more for them to play ball.
Right.
So I literally searched. I tried to keep the search to someplace close to NMRA headquarters, just in case there's an issue, or at least someplace between where I'm at and where headquarters is at, so that either one of us could drive there to find out what the issues are.
And headquarters is in Chattanooga. Where is it again?
Chattanooga.
Right.
Soddy Daisy. Yeah.
Soddy Daisy, right, in Chattanooga. Oh, yeah, that's right. One night, remember, Kelly, I was yelling at Gordy because there was really nothing to see there.
Right.
And it was a post office box. And I'm like, yeah, give people the address. I haven't had Gordy on for a while. We got to get him back on so we can yell at him for a while, just for the heck of it. Gordy's doing a magnificent job.
Yeah.
But I cannot possibly let him know that.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. He is doing a fantastic job. He's got some. I come. Like I said, I'm a. I don't know if I did say, but I'm a U.S. Navy vet and retired. And for 23 years, I was a senior. I was the senior chief when I retired, and I was the command senior chief at the command that I was at. So I learned to recognize good leadership. And you learn who to follow and who to tolerate.
Right.
And Gordy's one of the people that I was all too willing to follow. So
absolutely.
He had a mission. He had an idea. He knows exactly how he wants to get there. He's not afraid to exact change. And he's not afraid to ask his people to step up and do more so that we can accomplish those things.
And I think on top of all that, Gordy's a good person too, which
he is.
Which
Absolutely.
makes a huge difference. So it's a little easier to. I've had lots of discussions with Gordy, and you don't have to agree with him to make him happy. He gets things done. He wants to get, even if it's not his idea, he wants to get it done.
There you go.
So you made 15,000 of them somewhere. Did they end up near Florida? Did it end up near Soddy Daisy?
Well, actually, it's kind of right in the middle. So it's a little bit closer to Soddy Daisy. It's about 3.5 hours out of Chattanooga. It's in Georgia, North Georgia.
So what do you do? Did you just keep scouring the internet? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got a lot of questions.
No, you're fine.
So did you just keep scouring the internet to find somebody?
So literally, I typed in tool and die manufacturers and then I picked the state. So I picked Tennessee first, and then I talked to 10 or 12 manufacturers there. Nobody was interested, or they were selling their business, or they were getting bought out by something larger, or you had to go through corporate, and corporate didn't want to do it. So I started in on Georgia, and I didn't realize how many tool and die manufacturers there are in Georgia, but there are quite a few. So I made a list of all the manufacturers, and I started going down that list and leaving my name and sending emails and phone numbers, and got a few people to call me back. And when they did, they told me what it was going to cost, or the process by which they would approve doing these gauges. And so when I told them the total numbers and amounts, most of them were, well, that's kind of a small batch for us, even though it comes out to, probably 35 to 40,000 gauges by the time all is said and done. They said it's not going to be worth our time.
Wow.
So the big thing was,
you had to find a small shop then.
I had to find a shop that was willing to do small batches of stuff. Yeah. So I even checked with some of the smaller places, and they were barely making it by. So, but the big deal is we had all the original tooling. The NMRA owns the tooling. They own the tool, the dies, and what have you. And they were all at Saudi Daisy, and we needed to have whomever the new manufacturer was. We need to have them go up and evaluate those dies and the tooling, see if it would work with their equipment. And most of them were unwilling to travel up to Saudi Daisy, even if we paid for the trip up.
Right.
So they wanted us to ship that extremely heavy tool and die down to wherever they were at. And one company said they were going to charge a couple $100 to $1,000 just to evaluate the tool and die, and to evaluate whether they could set it up and do it or not. And we almost went with that guy because nobody else would do it. And then out of the blue, the last two people that I had left messages with, they both called me back, and they both said, we're interested. So, and I'm not sure if I can mention their name, but
sure, go ahead.
So Evans Tool and Die out of Georgia.
Evans Tool and Die. Evans Tool and Die out of Georgia single-handedly saved the NMRA.
They came. They rode to the rescue, and they're I think he's the production manager, but his name's Rick, and he drove up to Saudi Daisy on his own dime. He looked at all the gauges, or excuse me, the tools and the dies, and he went through and you figured out what parts went to what, because they were all in the storage area and they'd been sitting there for years. And he said, I don't see anything that's untenable here. I think we can do this. So he packed everything up in his truck and drove it back to his company. And I think he brought his vice president, the VP, with him when they went up there.
They're in Conyers. They're in Conyers, Georgia.
Conyers, yes,
Georgia. The zip code is 30013.
Right.
But now, as we're talking right now, they're closed.
Yes. So they took everything back, and they went through every die, and they looked at everything, evaluated everything, gave us a full report, let us know the condition of the dies. They said even if they needed to be repaired, they had a full facility for repair, and they could take care of that for us.
Wow.
So everything about this guy and the company was just spot on.
So is this the only thing you've had to do as the standards and conformance officer?
Oh, heck no. No. Gordy told me it was supposed to be like a 5-hour and a 10-hour a week job, and it's a second full-time job.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes.
Is that because you're always dealing with manufacturers wanting to know what to do?
Well, we deal with, I have a team of 75 people.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yes.
75 volunteers?
Yes. Volunteers and manufacturers who volunteer with our DCC working group. So these manufacturers come in, they sit down with our DCC working group guys. We discuss standards, DCC standards, new technologies, things that we need to do to adjust the standards to.
Do you think the manufacturers actually care what the NMRA wants?
At one point, I pretty much thought no, they didn't. And then the more that my team and I work with these manufacturers, the more interested they've become. We've gotten more manufacturers to join, to listen in, sit in, participate, contribute. And my guys are just doing a fantastic job. They really are. They're holding this whole thing together, and they're getting more and more participation. So the interest is definitely there. When there's issues have come up, the NMRA has stepped in as arbiters to assist between the common guy and the manufacturer, and we've done a great job at that. So I think more and more people are now seeing the value of the NMRA and where it fits within model railroading.
That's interesting then. So you've improved the relationship between the manufacturers and the NMRA.
We have. And I won't say I have, but my team has.
Yeah. You guys collectively have done that. Now, let me ask you this question, because I think I already know the answer, but listening to you chat, I mean, it sounds to me like because of the digital world and the ability to connect with people so much easier, it sounds to me like your model railroad experience has increased tenfold.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, for me personally, or me like NMRA professional?
No, you personally. I mean, you just you ended up meeting Michelle, and she takes you around, and you meet, and you have these, because during the pandemic you started making these Tuesday night get-togethers and getting people together, and you're the one that goes around getting people to it's enlightening. It must have been very enlightening for you to see the hobby must be growing in your area merely because of that, almost.
It's growing all the way around. I mean, I'm watching more and more people that they talk about how their parents or their grandparents used to be into model railroading and have a whole room full, and they're like, this is my, I have a small layout, and I think I see the benefit, and then they join and they get involved with divisional meets and divisional activities and the NMRA as a whole, going to conventions, and they really see the value in the whole thing. So, my job and my team's job is to continue to get that out there for people so that they understand what it is we're doing. Part of my team is the conformance and inspection team, and what they do is, and that's headed up by another digital guy that you may know who it is, but he is Mark Jewett, who is the Pulse of the DCC columnist in the NMRA magazine.
Okay.
And
yep.
And
do you know Kelly? Do you know Mark Jewett?
I know the name from the magazine. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know I don't know him or really the name at all. But
he actually builds model railroads for people. They contract with him to build their model railroad layouts.
Oh, is that the guy in Philadelphia or something?
He's in Missouri.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then I don't know him. And he builds there's a lot of people that do that for a living, build model railroads. Mm-hmm. This hobby is way bigger than anybody realizes.
Way bigger. And Mark has done a fantastic job of reaching out to manufacturers, bringing in products like cars and locomotives and what have you, so that this conformance and inspection team can take a look and measure everything, take pictures of everything, establish.
So when a manufacturer makes a new locomotive or a new freight car, do they send it to the NMRA to see if it meets the standards and practices, or that's just they send like?
So the answer is yes.
The answer is
yes and no.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Yes and no.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but so what we do is we either purchase something and we do a conformance and inspection against it, or we talk to the manufacturers about it, and they set us up with their marketing team, and their marketing team will send in product as it comes in, and we'll review the product. They do all the measurements on it, everything from the trucks to the wheel sets to the body size, the weight. They go through the entire thing, and once they are done, they say it conforms to standards or it doesn't. If it conforms to standards, then we issue what's called a conformance warrant. And we let the manufacturer know that their product conforms to NMRA standards, and they can use that in their marketing if they wish. But we also do a write-up in the NMRA magazine about that product and all the bells and whistles within that product and what we found electrically, DC or DCC wise, and what we found conformance and inspection wise for the physical and mechanical.
So you must have, I get the sense that you probably have a fair number of manufacturers that don't care if it conforms to your rules or not.
They don't care until we buy one and measure it, and then we go back to them and say, "Hey, did you know that this is out of spec?" So,
have you ever?
We never.
Have you ever done that?
Yes. So, and typically we go back to that manufacturer. We don't publish that. We don't put that out to the world. We go back to the manufacturer and say, "Hey, did you know that your trucks are out of spec?" And we provide them the standards for that, whatever the issue was, and we give them a chance to fix it. And then if they fix it, then we redo the conformance and inspection. And if it's all dead on, it all meets the requirements of the conformance and inspection, then we publish it in the NMRA magazine and say, "Hey, everybody, look at this." So, and they're starting to see the value in doing that. There were some that were very hesitant, but now there are several manufacturers that have been sending in their product. They'll take a new car or a new engine and they'll send it in, and we'll have it inspected by either by one of our engineers, our DCC electrical engineers, and then it goes on to the conformance and inspection team for that scale, and then we go ahead and do the write-up and keep track of all that. So,
so do any manufacturers come to you before they've built the car or locomotive?
Not before, because all our standards are published on the internet, so it's all there for them to see.
Okay.
So we don't have anything hidden.
No. No, it's not a trick. It's not a trick on the part of the NMRA.
No, it's not.
No, you're trying to get people to build stuff that's all the same, so it can run on anybody's layout.
On anybody's layout.
And
that's right.
That's not a huge problem with the major manufacturers, is it? Like pretty much.
I was going to ask, do you see the willingness to submit to that inspection, if you will? Do you see any kind of split in that between what you might consider like your old line manufacturers, like let's say like your Walthers, your Atherns, your major
have
versus
we gotten pushback?
Well, is there one group of manufacturers that is more or less willing to go along with that? So, like for example, is it the manufacturers that have been around a while, like your Walthers, your Atherns, and whatnot? Are they the ones that are more like, hey, we got to submit, we want to get that NMRA seal of approval, whereas maybe some of your newer manufacturers are less tied to that? I'm just curious if you see any kind of division among the manufacturers, because there's been such an explosion of manufacturers in recent years, and I'm wondering if what the view is from the manufacturers part of the NMRA.
So we have had some of the older manufacturers at one point say, "You know what? The standards haven't changed. We know what the standards are," which is not true, by the way. The standards change constantly because of all the new technology that comes out. But they're like, "We already know what it is, and so we don't have any need to interact anymore." I think at one point we were getting kind of a bad rap. The NMRA was getting a bad rap, and we started losing face with manufacturers and with our members and the volunteers, but after we've gotten some new leadership come in, and the mission was changed and the communication was changed and the message was changed, we're starting to see a resurgence of people saying, "Hey, you know what? You are value added. Let's talk." So we've had several new DCC manufacturers who are just starting up, and they want to know what the standards are and how they can get involved so they can produce a good quality DCC product that doesn't go against standards. We've gotten some of the older companies have come back in and settled in and offered their expertise so that we can continue to grow the standards so that it meets everybody's needs. So we have a wealth and a breadth of experience from very old to very new on our DCC working group. And we also, the same thing goes for our model railroading manufacturers group, where just the manufacturers sit down with our conformance and inspection team and talk about their product and engines, cars, rolling stock, etc.
Just by Kelly, you'll be interested in this. Evans Tool and Die is on exit 84 on Interstate 20, about 2 hours east of Atlanta. And it's not far from the Tokyo Hibachi Express.
Wow.
There you go. Now I know where to stop the next time I go up to take a look at product.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. All right.
New every day.
Yeah, there's a Red Lobster just down there. Well, there's a Walmart just down the road, and a Chick-fil-A, and a Popeye's chicken, a Cracker Barrel. Man, that is you picked it. You nailed it, buddy. You not only can they create the NMRA standards gauge, yeah, but just down the road you can have something to eat. It's like, man, you just you hit that one out of the park.
Yeah, I can go to Cracker Barrel and get myself a chicken fried steak.
There you go. There's even a Longhorn Steakhouse down the road, and that's one of David Start's favorites. All right, so now that you're on the standards and conformance thing, and your life is completely different now. So how what's this club you're involved in So I'm assuming you were a model railroader right from the get go, like as soon as yeah.
I've been a model railroader since I was probably 9 years old.
How do people end up as model railroaders? I was listening to, what was I listening to? Oh yeah, an interview with Ron Kleiss of me and Bruce the Mailboy, and I think we determined that when you're born, there's a model railroad ferry that comes along, and some of the people, some of the kids, the babies in the hospital get sprinkled with pixie dust.
That could very well be true.
They must have dropped a big bag of it on me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, geez. There you go.
Yeah,
Bag split when it was flying over.
Oops.
Yeah, they handed it to you and you sneezed and it went everywhere.
Either that or he started huffing it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Really. So how does somebody end up as because it seems to me like once it's in your soul, it just doesn't leave. It's a very peculiar thing how people are model railroaders and they love the hobby and they can't get out. And I mean, you must notice that too, Tom. I mean, you must have always been somewhat interested yourself.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even in the years that I wasn't modeling, I still had the interest in trains and railroading, even though whether I was, in college or, after college, before I got into the hobby, because of my son, I still had, I would still be fascinated, if I was driving by somewhere and I happened to see, a train station or railroad tracks, I'd always feel like, I wonder where that goes. I wonder when the trains, so it never, I don't think it ever leaves you. It's just how strongly does it manifest at any one time?
Yeah. How much pixie dust you got hit with.
Right.
All right. So what's this club you belong to? In Tallahassee.
Okay, so do you want me to answer the model railroading question, or do you want me to answer the BBMRA question?
What was the BBMRA? What was
That's the club I'm with.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, you're not one of these guys that talks in rapid acronyms, are you?
No, well, actually, being in the military and being in IT, you can't help it.
Yeah. Well, stop it.
Okay.
Well, I am interested in you've been a model railroader your whole life. How does somebody end up as a model railroader? What do you think it is about the hobby?
So actually, I was more interested in railroads before I got interested in model railroading.
Right.
So when I was ever since I was a young kid, I go to my aunt's house. She used to live in Orange, California, and the trains would pass right behind her house in Orange. And I'd sit on the wall and watch the trains all day going back and forth passing through Orange. And then when we moved to Michigan as a kid, I moved to Grayling, Michigan, and there was a railroad, and I want to say it was Detroit and something, but the railroad
Detroit, the DT and I, Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton.
Toledo, yeah, that sounds correct. So anyway, the train ran right past our house. So my dad had rented this house, and it was close to the tracks. I don't think he thought anything of it, but until those trains started rolling through there, there's a giant Y at just east of where we used to, just east of where we used to live. And these trains would roll through there. They'd get into that Y, and they would turn around and come right on back the other direction. And there was a big lumber yard there and some other things. Well, when I was a kid, one day the engineer had to split the train because they were going to be where they were at for too long, so traffic was all backing up. So they moved the train across the track and allowed traffic to pass because they were too big. And so I struck up a conversation with him. I walked out of my house and I was sitting there, and he walked over and he's like, "You want to see the inside of the train, kid?" Something you could probably never do today. And of course, my mom was always like, "Don't you go into people's cars? Don't you do things like that?" So anyway, so of course I'm like, "Yeah, I want to see the inside of that train." So and it was an early diesel, and got inside, and I was it's like heaven's window opened up or something for me,
Yeah.
right? You know, this is an everyday job for this guy, but for me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. So he explained to me all the controls. And
an everyday what?
Job.
What's it? Oh,
job.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. You said don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he really made it interesting for me. And then, of course, he got the call, and they had to back the train up now, so I had to get out and move back off away from the tracks and what have you. Once I was safely away, they backed back down the track and picked up their load and went down to the Y and turned around and came back the other direction. So, ever since then, that was just it. I was enraptured with model, railroading, and then I wanted to bring that experience into the house, someplace where I could build my own model railroad. So I started doing it with Lionel trains, and I built. My dad gave me this whole section of finished basement for me to build my train. So I started building up 4x8 sheets of tables, and my dad came down there. I think he was sorry that he told me I could use the whole basement. So, so he looked at me and he's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" He says, "You've got to have, I had this big L shape at first. He said, "You've got to have just about half the basement covered in 4x8 sheets of plywood." He said, "Are you really going to build it that big?" And I told him that I would. And so, of course, everything I built was...
Were you sneaking the wood in at midnight or something when they were sleeping? Like, wouldn't they have noticed you were carrying in all these 4x8 sheets of plywood?
No, I stole it from my dad's stash in the garage while he was at work.
Ah, okay.
I would take it downstairs and build it all out. So once the table was built, he couldn't take it back.
There you go. Okay. So, all right. So you've been a model railroader since you were a kid.
Right.
And then when did you end up in Tallahassee after you retired from the Navy? Like, was that always your home port, like where you lived, or?
No, I moved around a lot. I moved from Long Beach, California to Grayling, Michigan, and then moved to Muskegon, Michigan, and then went in the service. And when I went in the service, you can't take a lot of Lionel trains with you. So
No.
if you want to do model railroading, you got to do something on a smaller scale. So I got into N scale. And the Navy hobby shops sold a lot of N scale and HO scale trains.
Did the Navy have a
The
hobby?
Navy had hobby shops?
Yeah,
Wow.
you and I are saying the same thing.
They did. Back in the day, they did. So as part of the exchange, they had a whole section that was just model trains.
Really?
So, and it was a lot of it was pretty large sections, and you had a lot to pick from.
Where
So,
was
of
where
course-
was this?
At the time, that was in Memphis, Tennessee. So,
No, of course, which is a big Navy port, is a big seaport.
well, no, it was. But they do teach it.
I can often remember I have fond memories of sitting by the water in Memphis, Tennessee, watching the fleet come in.
Aircraft
Sitting on the
carriers
dock
going
of the
down
bay.
the Mississippi.
Yeah, it's neat when you go on Google Earth and you hover over Memphis and you can see all the ships tied up at the pier.
Yeah. Well, so let me clarify. I was in naval aviation. So yes, and there's an NAS Raleigh Millington there. There's a Naval Air Station there.
Okay.
And they taught a lot of advanced electronics, electronic systems, defensive electronic countermeasures. I mean, stuff that it would take most people, electronics engineer, 4 years to go through. We did it in 6 months.
Can I ask you a question and get a really short answer?
No.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I'll cut
Go
you off.
ahead.
I'll cut you off when the answer gets too long. And
Okay.
Tom and Bruce, feel free to jump in on this one if you guys know the answer. But there's people all over the world that listen to this, and I'm sure there's lots of people that don't know the answer. Why does the United States Navy have a branch of aviation? Like, why don't they? Why did the Navy always have their own Air Force?
So actually, the Navy used to take Army planes on board the ships, and then the Navy developed its own Air Force, so Naval Air Force, and they do it so that they can bring democracy to your door.
No, I understand. I understand that, but I mean, there is the Air Force, so it's like, why not just put the Air Force planes on the aircraft carrier and stuff like that? I mean, it always seemed to me like the Navy, the aviation side of the Navy was the coolest part of all the armed forces. For me,
I loved it. I used to be the guy on the flight deck, the guy with the white shirt that launches the plane. That was me.
Did you do
It
that?
was? Wow.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah, I didn't hit the button. That was the yellow shirts. That wasn't me. That was
What aircraft carrier did you work on?
I worked on a couple of aircraft carriers, the USS Ranger, the USS Kitty Hawk, and then I moved to amphibious assault ship, the USS Essex.
Wow.
So, but only the first 6 years of my career was spent at O level, with the aircraft, working directly on aircraft. I used to work on F-14 Tomcats.
Like gassing them up or something?
No. I did all the electronics, the defensive electronic countermeasures, the communications, navigation, IFF.
So are you like really smart?
Well,
I'm only saying that because you don't sound that smart.
Oh my God!
Come on,
Wow.
Tommy. Come on. That was the punchline. That's the punchline.
That's all right.
I know.
So yeah, I can hold my own.
He's used to the antics channel, Lionel.
I love it. I love Tom. Oh my God. Yeah. Like you didn't see that coming from a mile away.
Yeah. I heard you pull the pin on the grenade all the way here.
Exactly. But you must have to have an aptitude for that sort of stuff, because that's the kind of stuff you can't teach people. You can teach them if they have the aptitude for it.
Right. And the Navy, they have what's called an ASVAB test. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Armed
basically it's
Services
an
Vocational Aptitude Battery.
What was the
battery.
what was the test called again?
The ASVAB test. ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test.
Yeah, we have something similar called the AML test.
Oh, I thought it was the Kelly questions.
Yeah, the Kelly questions. Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
God.
And I did score well on that test.
I'm sure you did. You must have to be able to do all that stuff, because that's a pretty serious job, being the guy in charge of the electronics on a Tomcat when you're sending guys off the end of a ship at nuclear speed.
Yep.
Yeah, Andy, when you took the test, Andy, did you score good in other vocations?
I scored a 96 out of 99.
Wow.
So I could have done any job I wanted to do.
Wow.
which I'm not bragging because my son scored a 99 out of 99. So
So is your son in the Navy?
he was for a while, and now he works for Form Labs, doing rebuilding, repairing, setting up multi-$1,000 printer 3D printers.
3D printers. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to put you to the test now. This is
Okay.
actually going to put you to the test of all the knowledge you got and all your high scores and everything else. Can you explain T-Trak to me?
Sure.
Because it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, T-Trak was born out of N-Trak. And N-Trak is, I mean, if you're familiar with modular model railroading, then you're probably familiar with the N-Trak.
Yeah, N-Trak was the modules guys would build that are like 2 feet by 4 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same people that helped develop N-Trak help bring T-Trak to America from Japan. And T-Trak,
And let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Why? They already had N-Trak.
Why?
Yeah, they already had N-Trak. They had N-Trak. What did we need T-Trak for?
Well, because in Japan, I'm sure you well know, space is limited and very constrained. Most of their apartments, I could probably fit 4 of them inside my modest house. So, and they needed a way to be able to do model railroading, but they don't have a lot of room for a layout. So they build these small modules, snap all these modules together at a gymnasium or some meeting place, and then suddenly they have 25 scale miles of track, and they're running multiple layouts, multiple loops, multiple designs. Some of them are very intricate, and when they're done at the end of the day, they pop their modules out, they take them back home, they put them back on the shelf, and then they wait for the next run.
And I was actually doing okay trying to understand N-Trak until I talked to Brad Williamson, which, by the way, I give that guy a wide berth. And then he started. His group has a big. They have a great T-Trak module club that they're having a ton of fun with. But then he started saying, well, some of them, the guys make them double wide, and then they're single wide, and it's kind of like, well, that wouldn't look very, what's the word, Tom? When pleasing to the eye. What's the word?
Appealing.
Consistent, aesthetically pleasing.
Aesthetically pleasing.
That's good.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand why it felt like North America needed to inherit T-Trak when we already had N-Trak, which was basically the same thing. And now we've got, I get the idea of the little 1 foot squares and you can stick them together. And if you keep them, everybody has 1 foot squares or 1 foot by 2 foot squares. I can sort of understand that. But we already kind of had something like that.
It actually gets much bigger than that. So you have single wides, single deep, single wides, double deep, double wides, full deep depth modules, which are 14 inches deep. You got triple wides, quadruples. And now you're up into the N-Trak size by the time you get to a quadruple.
Wow. Lionel, it sounds like a trailer park.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. Well,
so the original T-Trak, maybe this would help. The original T-Trak size was what, 1 foot by 1 foot?
Basically, yes.
Right. And then that came over from Japan because, as you say, in Japan, a lot of the homes are very small. And so if you wanted to belong to a club and you wanted to build modules, they would build these 1 foot square modules, and somebody might have 3 or 4 of them they put together, and they put that with another group, and before you know it, you got yourself a good size layout.
Right. So, for instance, the club that we were referring to earlier, the Big Bend Model Railroad Association.
Can you say
we have
that?
both N scale.
Can you say that faster? The Big Bend Model Railroad Association. The Big Bend Model Railroad Association, because the thing of it is, Andy, there's people all. Did you know, Andy? This is something you may not have ever heard before, but the sun never sets on the AML Nation. So
yes, I know that.
Yeah, there's people all over the world listening to you right now. And so we have to be very succinct and enunciate our words.
So you want me to enunciate more properly? I get it. You didn't want me to use the acronym, so I was
no acronyms. And even though you're used to saying Big Bend Model Railroad Association, some guy in South Africa has no idea what you're saying.
Well, I know a guy from Namibia who knows what that is.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's one.
So,
but you also know a guy that lives north of the Toronto that has no idea what you're saying.
Yeah. So I am the president of our club here in Tallahassee, the Big Bend Model Railroad Association. There, a little better. So, okay, and we used to do a lot of N-Trak, but because N-Trak gets very heavy and unwieldy, as the demographic ages, there are fewer and fewer people that want to try to pick those modules up, move them around, put them in trailers, take them places. So you start losing volunteers, and you start losing people who actually want to participate. So we started a T-Trak club, and we have it both in N scale and HO scale. And even our O scale guys have T-Trak modules in O scale.
Wow.
Yeah. And we run those at our show, which our show's at the end of June. What you may not know is that the T-Trak community is a very, very close-knit, tight-knit community.
Sure,
And
yeah. Well, that's becoming very obvious that the people really enjoy being together and
yes.
and in doing it. That's for sure.
So when I put out a call for modules, I had no less than 7 clubs from around the Southeast that raised their hands and said, "We want to participate." Wow. So I even had a guy from, is it Fredericksburg, Virginia? That he said, "It's a 14-hour trip for me, but I want to run with you guys." So he's bringing his modules down at the end of June.
That's something.
Got another guy out of Nashville, Tennessee. It's 9.5 hours, something like that, maybe 10. And he's bringing his modules down.
But isn't that really the beauty of the whole hobby? Is the camaraderie that it creates? People.
It is.
You know,
it is.
That's the secret sauce that people need to realize. That it's the camaraderie.
It is.
The only thing I would tell you though, if you have a guy named Brad Williamson offer to bring his stuff, you give that guy a wide berth. I'm telling you.
Okay. So. Yeah. So last year, we had 110 modules.
Wow.
Excuse me. I take it back. 94 modules, 110 foot of spine from one end to the other, and the peninsulas came out 10 to 12 feet, and some of those peninsulas then split off into an H and ran parallel to the main spine. And we ran that for 2 days with these 7 clubs, and everybody had a fantastic time. And we were getting all kinds of love from local TV stations, radio stations, everybody that came in, just taking a look at all those individual modules and how they're built and the artistry that goes into those.
For sure, yeah.
That goes into each one of those dioramas. That we got a lot of love. I'll put it that way. So we picked up a lot of new members as a result.
So I'm looking at the T-Trak. I'm on ntrak.org.
Right.
That is the
NRail homepage.
Well, it's called ntrak.org. It's the main.
Yeah.
NRail. Yeah, NRail. That's where it gets a little confusing. It's NRail, but it's N-Trak and it's T-Trak and blah 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 blah. So I'm on the T-Trak standards page. So maybe we can explain it to me so that someday I'll understand it. That's what you should have done, Tom, was build your entire. How big is that? It's 26. I haven't said this in a long time. It's 26.
20 by 36.
20 by 36 with inside dimensions of 18.5 by
34.5.
Yeah, there you go. You should have done the whole thing in 1 foot squares.
Now, if you're on that T-Trak page, you see the pictures that are rotating through there?
No, I'm on the standards page right now.
Click on T-Trak,
Yeah.
the tab for T-Trak,
Yeah.
and just go to the T-Trak home.
Yeah.
And it'll say, this is your T-Trak headquarters. And then below it, you'll see modules and the pictures just kind of page by.
Right. Yeah.
About half of those are mine.
Really?
Yeah. Like that inside corner with the lumberyard, that's mine.
Okay.
Oh wow.
The burning building with the speedometers and the what have you, that's mine.
Okay. So let's go back. I'm going to go back to the standards because I have questions because I want to understand this.
Sure.
So it says width, 12 and an eighth inches, or 308
Right.
millimeters. Is that the length of the module? Is that what they're trying to say?
That is the length of the module, and it's based off of the Kato track that we use to interconnect all of the T-Trak modules.
I think we need to start Queso and Kelly. I think we need to start a movement where they change it from width to length, because that's what screws me up. It's not the width would be how far it is from the front of the layout to the back of the layout. I would.
Oh, that'd be depth. That would be depth to me.
That's depth.
Well, then let's change width to length.
And the width would be the front, side to side.
Width, yeah, left to right is width.
Yeah.
Front to back is depth. Top to bottom is height.
Well, what is length? If my module is 12 and an eighth inches long, isn't that the length of it?
Length and width are interchangeable.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Length is just a measurement, I think. If you
how wide is your house? How wide is your house, Kelly?
How wide?
Yeah.
It's 2 bedrooms at least.
Yeah. So, better yet.
I know.
Better yet.
I know.
Better
I
yet.
know.
Tom, what's the width of your barn?
It's 20 foot wide,
How long is that? What's the length of it?
36 feet.
That's my point. It's like the module should instead of being.
You know
width,
what? You know what's confusing you, Lionel? It's the position, the point of view. When you talk about a building, you're standing in front of it, and that's why you do width and length.
Well, if I'm standing in front of a module, though, I'm talking depth and length.
Yeah, but it's
and so because like the double straight one, the double straight one is the width is 24 and 2 feet 5 and 5/16 of an inch. Well, that's not width; it's the length of the thing is 24.
It's the width.
Yeah, it's the length. I'm starting a new campaign. And Andy,
well, guess what? I'm the standards and conformance guy, and it stays width, depth, and height. Sorry, bud.
Then I think you and I are gonna come to blows before.
Oh God.
this life is over.
Here's the definition. Length is the measure of how long an object is from one end to the other.
Right.
While width is the measure of how wide an object is from side to side.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyways, I think I understand.
We'll throw depth in there next.
But so then maybe that's why I was there are none that are on the straight. And let me ask this question: am I to assume that of all the straight pieces, whether they're a single straight or a double straight, they're all the depth is all 5 inches, 5 and 14, 30, 5 inches. 14 3/8 depth.
They can be from 5 inches deep to 14 and 3/8 inches deep.
See,
14 and 3/8 is max depth.
Wouldn't that be kind of ugly if you got one beside another one? One's only 5 inches deep and the other one's 14 inches
Not necessarily.
deep?
They might be bridge modules or something like that.
Oh, okay. I would think it would be better if they were. Anyways, I think I understand it a little better. I think I'm very slowly starting to understand T-Trak, and it seems to be becoming wildly popular.
It is. So the big thing is in a lot of people, and we're trying to overcome this stereotype, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's a great, to start with, if you don't know what you're doing, it's great to start with, and it's great to finish with. As you get older, you can't carry stuff around. You have less and less room. So it's a good beginning and end, but in the middle, you need to have a full size basement with a layout that goes from one wall to the other. And, you barely have enough room for 2 people to pass in the aisle. And it's like, well, not everybody has that. In Florida, we don't have basements. We can have a basement. It just turns into an indoor pool. So So we have to do something different. So by building these T-Trak modules, we were able to sit there and build a complete diorama, exactly the way we see it in our head, whether it was something from as we were with as that we ran into as a kid, and we just want to put that memory onto a module, or it could be something completely made up, or it can be a scene from a movie, or it can be just about anything you want. So, and the beauty of it is I can sit here with it with my granddaughter. She builds her own module, and she starts getting interested in the dioramas and the trains and what have you. And then when we go to a train show, she brings her modules with all 40 of mine, and we snap them in.
That I can really see how these T-Trak modules can be a real asset to kids wanting they have an interest in model railroading. I can really see how I can really see a plus with these T-Trak modules for people, for young people. It's a 10 or 12-year-old wanting to build a module, and they don't have to build something that's 8 feet long.
Layout.
Yeah, or 8 feet long by 2 feet wide. They can build something that's 6 inches by 12 inches and be quite happy with it.
They can. And they get to go run trains with Papa or their dad, or, and they get to be part of the bigger organization. They start to experience the culture. Yeah. They start to experience the camaraderie. And next thing you know, they want to be part of it. Yeah,
so, that I can see is nothing but a plus. So Kelly, I think from now on we should promote T-Trak as the AML Nation loves T-Trak.
Yeah. Yes. Bonus.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, we never disliked it. There's just there's some unsavory characters in it.
Yeah.
Brad Williams.
T-Trak or N-Trak?
I don't know. I think both. I think he's part of both.
Oh, is he?
Oh, God.
I think so.
I don't know why I'm picking on him, but it seems like fun, so we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, because he's into N scale, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought N scale was dead. Was dead.
Remember?
Not by far.
It was hidden. Now it's coming out.
Yeah.
Well, it runs.
As a matter of fact,
it runs so well. It's like the stuff you see runs like a Swiss watch. The N scale stuff. It really is enjoyable. Tom, have you thought about changing to N scale?
No, I have not.
Just imagine you could put the whole Reading.
I could do the entire Reading system in that farm.
Yeah.
I think I would go batty.
Oh, jeez.
trying to do that.
I'm pretty sure when I listen to this particular podcast, I'm going to annoy the crap out of myself. I seem quite annoying tonight for some reason or other. I don't know why. Not probably because I just got a tooth out a few days ago.
Yeah. You too. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
An emergency root canal just a few days ago.
Did you have an emergency one? Oh, mine wasn't. I broke my tooth, so then it wasn't.
I did too. I broke it, and the nerve was exposed, and that was painful.
Yeah, that would be painful.
Yeah.
So okay, what is that? All right, so let's carry on with this conversation, if you don't mind.
Sure,
Andy.
I don't mind at all.
All right, what is So then, what is NRail? Because that's when you go to the homepage of ntrak.org. Anybody that wants to know anything about T-Trak, N-Trak, Fremo modules, there's a great listing of clubs around the world.
Right.
So anybody wants to know anything, there's a forum, there's activities, go to ntrak.org.
Yeah, or you can go to nrail.org. They all go to the same spot.
Or nrail.org, okay. And do you know why they're called .org?
Because they're an organization.
They're organized.
Yeah, okay. So hey, fun fact.
You know what? One thing I wanted to tell you, Andy, you listen to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Quite a bit. And you've heard me talk about our buddy Josh Bowman, who's he's the official ag repair business of the AML network. He's the best agricultural machinery repair business east of the Mississippi. And have you ever heard me talk about him?
The name's not super familiar, but it might be on one of the ones I'm still needing to catch up on.
Right. So. Okay. Well, he's a sheep farmer as well.
Okay.
He has a 110-acre sheep farm. But unfortunately, about a week ago, 3 of the sheep got loose. They escaped from the farm, and now they're on the lamb.
Jeez. Oh, God.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah. Oh,
Courtesy laugh. Insert
he'll
here.
be here. He'll be here all year.
Yeah. I am beating that one to death until
Oh,
finally I find
man,
somebody.
that's great.
And when he's not looking for his sheep, he's enjoying his Rapido trains.
The fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's HO, the fast track is Rapido.
All right. So what is it? What is NRail then? This is all watered down? Like NRail was the original organization. N-Track was the original.
Remember, N-Track was the original organization, and then as it started to expand and it moved into N-Track and T-Trak and One-Track and Ben-Track and some would argue Fremo N, as those modular systems started to break out, there was a need for somebody to take the reins so that they could keep the standards so that it wasn't a bunch of willy-nilly stuff going on. So it didn't seem right to just call it N-Track because it was more than N-Track. It's several modular systems that they had cognizance over, not just N-Track. So they changed the name to NRail. And as I'd like to start to say, fun fact, I'm also a director on the board of NRail.
Of course, sure. Of course, sure. And is it a different organization that you can belong to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all N scale. It's all N scale stuff.
Right. I understand. So, okay, for $10 a year, you can see. Now, this is a great discussion.
Actually, this year and this year only, if you pay $5, you get the entire full membership for $5.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the 50th anniversary of N-Track.
All right. But normally it's $10 a year.
Normally it's $10.
So this would be a great discussion we could have with Gordy one day to get him riled up. Why can NRail manage to run their organization for $10 a year and the NMRA needs $60 or $70 a year?
NRail is a much smaller organization. And although we have been around, and we as an NRail have been around for a while, the NMRA is a much larger organization and produces, the magazine and although NRail produces a newsletter, but the NMRA has its fingers in a lot of things, all things model railroading, where NRail represents the N scale or part of the hobby. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying not to cough into the mic, so
I do it all the time. I just edit that part out. This hobby just enhances your life enormously. I'm still stuck on the Navy had a hobby shop in Memphis.
Yeah. Matter of fact, a lot of the Navy exchanges had them, and they probably still do. I just haven't been around a seaport long enough to go into a Navy exchange.
Well, exactly.
I have to go to Jacksonville, or I got to go to Pensacola, or I got to go
or Memphis. They have a dry.
If I want to go to Memphis, I could.
They have a dry dock in Memphis.
So, a landlocked dry dock.
They service all the aircraft carriers.
Remember, it's an aircraft. It's a naval air station.
Naval air station. That is just saying naval air station sounds cool to me somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's always sounded cool to me.
So how did you decide to end up in the Navy?
Well, I know this is going to sound funny, but both my fathers were in the Navy.
Hang on. You tell us, and then we'll decide.
Okay.
Kelly and Kay, so what did you think of his other stories? Did they seem funny to you at all?
Yeah, I got a little chuckle.
Marginally humorous.
Marginally humorous. Okay.
Marginally, that's good. That's a good.
Yeah, that's
good
a good.
start,
That's
marginally.
marginally humorous. That's a pretty lofty score. All right. So how did you end up in the Navy?
So both my biological father and my stepfather were both in the Navy.
Okay.
And they always had all these great sea stories that they would sit around and tell. So I kind of got kind of a very lofty idea that I would too would one day join the Navy and make my dads proud. and I decided to become what's called an AT, an avionics electronics technician. And I was just determined that I was going to work on F-14 Tomcats. So I made sure that after I took my ASVAB score, that I was very detailed and succinct about what I needed from the Navy in order to join the Navy. And they gave me everything I wanted. So off I went to work at NAS Miramar when it was an NAS, and I worked on F-14 Tomcats in VF2.
What's NAS? What is NAS Miramar?
Fighter
Naval
Town,
Air
USA.
Station Miramar.
What?
Fighter Town, USA. Exactly. Yes, sir.
Everybody say it. Everybody say it at the same time.
Yeah.
It is
One,
now.
2, 3.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. You seemed like you want to. Tom, what is Miramar for 100, Alex?
Miramar is it's an air station. It is now actually a Marine Corps air station.
Absolutely.
Outside of San Diego.
Mhm.
It is also where the Fighter Weapons School was held for quite a long time,
Right.
also known as Top Gun.
Top Gun.
And I had the pleasure of visiting Miramar back in 2013 when I won the President's Circle for my job. We had a week in San Diego, and one of our trips during that event was we went to Miramar for the day. We got to meet with Marine Corps F-18 pilots. We got to go out on the flight line. We got to watch airplanes take off and land, and it was F-18s. It was the Ospreys coming in and going. And then we went to the Officers Club, and we packed as a service project, we packed backpacks full of essentials for military personnel deployed overseas, like socks and notepads, and toothpaste and toothbrushes. And we packed all this stuff up into backpacks, and then we wrote little notes thanking the soldiers for everything they were doing. And it was really a cool experience.
Sounds like it. Sounds like a worthwhile experience.
And it would have been better if they took him to the Chiefs Club, but he probably wouldn't have walked. He wouldn't have walked out, so he might have had to carry him out.
They do that every night. James and his Mattern and his pals always carry him out of the barn, anyways.
Yeah.
So tell us. Okay, you said to me, "You don't get you." I want to hear one sea story. What's your favorite? What's your favorite story about being in the Navy?
Let's see. Well, you asked me to pull a rabbit out of the hat, but
it can't be about waves hitting the side of the boat, though.
Yeah. Have you ever heard? Have you ever?
I can tell you that one.
Yeah. Have you ever heard? Have you ever heard of a guy that gets a chance to go on a civilian? He gets to spend a week on a naval
ship. guided missile destroyer.
A guided missile destroyer.
It's called a Tiger Cruise.
That's
Tiger
right.
Cruise with his future daughter-in-law.
No, she was my daughter-in-law.
Okay,
she's my daughter. She's my daughter. I know.
She's your daughter-in-law, and all he did was bitch the entire time.
Oh Lord!
The waves were too big. The door, they kept hitting the side of the boat.
My berth was up. My rack was right up against the wall where the
bulkhead. Yeah.
No, against the bathroom, and every time somebody flushed the toilet, it woke me up. The head, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was always hitting my head going down into the lower.
And then the doors were too small and the waves were too big.
There's no doors.
Yeah,
there's hatches.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So
there's no doors, walls, ceilings. It's hatches overhead.
There's doors on officers' quarters, though.
Yeah,
once you,
officers.
Yeah, that's right. Once you saw the stairs to the officers' country, it was nice stairs and railings.
That's just because they don't know how to operate a hatch.
Yeah, and he was mad because they wouldn't let him push any of the buttons to work.
Oh, they wouldn't let us shoot. They wouldn't let us shoot the guns. They wouldn't let us take us up in the helicopter.
Had you come with me out on the USS Essex, you could have been shooting a 50 cal. You could have been shooting a 20 cal. Yeah. You could have been rocking the M4s.
I did get to take some brass home with me, but then my son lost it. So.
Yeah. Well, where's the fun in that?
I know. I had
You got to
one
go
guy.
out there and just tear some stuff up. You're hanging with the wrong crowd.
Oh, I had a great
you-
time. It was.
You got to
it was
hang with
good.
the Chiefs.
There you
Yes,
go.
well, the Chiefs were always good because the Chiefs got the best cooks.
So
Yes, we
what
do.
exactly is a chief?
He's like a
What is a chief?
sergeant. He's like a sergeant in the army.
No.
Oh,
It's
actually, let me
it's a-
wait. Sorry,
Now you're insulting our guest.
I
yeah,
know.
a little bit. So it's like an It's an E7 in the other military organizations. It's an E7. So for the Marines, it would be a gunnery sergeant.
Yeah, right.
For the I don't even know what the Air Force call theirs. They always have these long names and too many rockers and chevrons on their patches. But and then Coast Guard, it's a chief,
Chief, yeah.
and Navy, it's a chief.
Army was what?
It's
Master Sergeant. Master Sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're like the guys that really ran the operation.
It's it. It's all the middle management, and they'll tell you the chiefs run the Navy. We have people. We have to take orders like everybody else, but the chiefs run the Navy. So,
Yeah. Well, and
Senior NCOs.
Yes, that's where all the power resides.
Yep.
And we have a lot of people who listen to the podcast that are career servicemen and women, and it's an extremely honorable occupation and way to go.
It is
very honorable, and you should be extremely proud of yourself that you put in that much time serving your country.
I loved every minute of it. My wife asked me if I would go back today, and I'm like, in a minute. I don't know how civilians get a damn thing done.
Well, that might be an indication of something else if she's asking you if you'd like to go back.
No. She's like, do you miss? She's like, do you miss it? I know I could ask her.
Was that a is it a question or a suggestion?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No.
Hey, Andy, do you miss being away from me for 6 months at a time?
Yeah. Don't you want to go back to sea? Like,
Or that coastal town, Memphis.
Those intercoastal waterways, so we can just run those carriers now.
So, okay, give us one good sea story.
So, very early in my career, and unfortunately, I'm going to use the waves against the ship one, but very early in my career, I was on the USS Ranger, and I was a second class petty officer, which is an E5, and I had a third class petty officer, which is an E4, with me on the flight deck, and we were headed into a huge storm, and we had to go make sure all of our aircraft, all the F-14s, were buttoned down and canopies closed, and we had to tighten up, finish up the repairs and stuff that we were doing, so that when we got into this storm, none of the salt water we would not get any saltwater intrusion in the aircraft, and what have you. So as we're headed in, the waves were getting higher and higher, and we're closing off the F-14 Tomcat, and we pulled out this multi-$100,000 piece of equipment. And we were trying to head back into the skin of the ship when the OOD managed to find the peak of the wave, and literally the carrier came down the wave. Instead of going straight into the wave, came down the wave kind of sideways.
Oof.
And so the flight deck was tilted towards the wave. And I remember my friend Mark and I just had that, and I can't say what came out of my mouth, but it was, oh, son of a, and next thing we know, we're seeing, now the flight deck is 90 feet off the water.
Right.
So, and we're seeing a wave that's coming up over the top of the flight deck, and we're staring straight into this wave. And so both of us jumped down and we grabbed the pad eyes that were on the flight deck. And we held on tight, and this wave crashed down over the top of the flight deck. And it played with us like paper dolls, just rag dolls, tossed us around pretty good. And when the ship popped back up and we were headed into the next wave, we got up and tried to haul butt inside the skin of the ship. And we managed to make it into the catwalk when the next wave hit. And it almost washed my friend overboard. But I held on to him, he held on to me, but unfortunately we didn't hold on to that piece of equipment. So it went into the deep blue, and we went inside the ship and had to file a whole bunch of reports and paperwork and all kinds of good stuff. But that was the first and only time I thought I was going to get washed off the top of the flight deck and into a heavy sea state, which I know they would never have found me.
Yeah,
So,
they never find you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
did you wear any kind of life preserver when you were on the flight?
oh
deck?
yeah, you have to. You have to.
Just in case. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
So,
it wouldn't have mattered because the waves were so.
Such a heavy sea state. Yeah, and it was you wear the flotation device. It goes off automatically when you hit the water, and then we also used to carry these dye packs with us. So the dye pack would leave this bright fluorescent trail, in the water that they could follow. So, but those weren't always super effective. But,
Wow.
And then of course you had the little flashy light on top of your helmet. You
Yeah, exactly.
turn the light on in your vest.
Yeah, you had stuff, but in reality, good luck trying to
Yeah,
find these guys. In
that sea state, they would have trouble trying to launch a helo even to come back and get us.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or turn around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you can't turn a carrier around that quick.
No, no.
So, mm-mm.
Cool stuff.
So-
Stuff. And the whole time you're an avid model railroader. What a
Yes. Yeah.
That's what's really neat about this hobby is all the people that are part of the hobby. It's like it's just so wide and varying. It's like so many different people and so many interesting people to talk to, and that's what I love about this podcast is, I love to talk to people about their lives. I mean, it's great to talk to them about model railroading, but it's also great to talk about all the other stuff, like you doing all the standards and conformance. I mean, people don't know that. People don't realize there's a lot. I was having this discussion the other day. There's a lot of people that volunteer to make this organization go.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I've got 72 at the moment, and I'm fixing to pick up a few more on my team. And those are manufacturers, volunteers, and these range from, the average guy who's just is an avid modeler to, guys with double E degrees and other engineering degrees that are hyper smart, way smarter than me. So
yeah, I think this sounds incredibly arrogant, but I think generally model railroaders as a whole are a fairly intelligent group of people. I think if we all had to take one group IQ test, you throw out the low score, me, and the high score, and you'd end up with a pretty smart average. I think model railroading, the people in it, it's a fascinating thing to be part of, because it's like I said, once it's in your blood, you can't get it out. You literally can't get it out, no matter what you do. It's and the beauty. The only thing I was going to say is the beauty of it is you do it till your last breath.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And what were you going to say?
And then your wife sells everything in your train collection for what you told her you purchased it for. So
That's if she knows about it.
yeah.
While she's asking you if you ever miss being out at sea.
Do you want to go back out to sea? You're like, why? So you can sell my train stuff? No.
So do you have any kind of a layout in your home, or you just have all your modules?
I do. I have a small layout in my home. It's only about it's like 4 foot by 8 foot.
Okay.
In scale. It's got some industries on it, and it's got a lot of that one. I built it a long time ago, and it's all analog. I got to gut all that from underneath and change it all to ECC. But all the T-Trak modules I have, like I said, I have like 40 of them now. I'm building 2 more, including an extremely complex double diamond that I got going on. And I'm trying to figure out the lighting for that. But I did manage to pick up a book from Kallenbach that talks about interlockings and all of the signaling for the interlocking.
Yeah, and there's if you ever want to put signals, we know a guy that wrote a book about signals too.
Is that the same guy that wrote it for Kallenbach?
Yeah.
Yep.
And now he's writing. That's
the book that I have.
There you go. You want to get it autographed?
Sure.
I'll get Uncle Dave to autograph it for you.
There you go.
And you're the show manager for the Tallahassee Model Railroad Show.
I am. I'm the president of the club, and I'm the show manager. And
Ask him if he's the chairman of the board.
Oh yeah.
No.
Do you guys have a board?
No, I'm the president. I'm not the chairman. We do have a board.
Oh, God.
You do have a board.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Kelly, you're on the board, aren't you?
I'm on the board.
Have you ever been?
I'm really certified.
Yeah.
And didn't you say to me you were going to be the president of the HO club again?
No, I am now unofficially the vice president.
Oh, okay. Unofficially, because you told them.
No, we had some vacancies and we had to do a fill in really fast to be able to run meetings, and it's not official because it wasn't really an election.
Okay,
it's something we have to deal with.
So the Tallahassee.
What was it? A coup?
Yeah.
You were appointed.
Yeah, I would. No, I actually volunteered because I'm concerned about the club. That's all.
You're concerned. You're always concerned about the club. You always think they're doing. You always think they're doing it wrong.
No, I don't think they're doing it wrong. I didn't say that. I just want to make sure it keeps going.
You just want to make want to make sure they're doing it your way.
No, never do that. Never do that.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We got to end this because I got to get Tom and what's the other guy's name? Kelly. I got to get the Queso Cowboy and Kelly to help me do an introduction to another podcast.
Oh, good.
Okay. And we've been talking here for almost 2 hours, anyways.
Good.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about the Riley Club. The Raleigh.
The what?
Raleigh Club.
Raleigh. Yeah, the North Raleigh Model Railroad Club. Yeah, that's I belong to that, and no big surprise, but I'm also the Sunshine Region Director at Large for the Florida Sunshine Region.
The Raleigh Club.
I got a lot of hats.
What's the Raleigh Club?
North Raleigh Model Railroad Club.
Where's that?
The Raleigh, North Carolina.
What the hell are you doing? Are you like the president of every club within 110 miles of Tallahassee, Florida?
He and Kelly have divided it up.
Yeah, we've divided the country in half.
Andy's got everything east of the Mississippi. Kelly has everything west of the Mississippi.
That's it.
Well, how did you end up did you live in Raleigh at some point?
My son did. He lived in Apex, North Carolina, and we were going to move up there. So, of course, one of the first things, if I'm going to take a job up there, I want to make sure that there's a good model railroad club to belong to, or I'm not moving.
Right.
So
not only
you
called up Kelly and said, "How do I become president?"
Right. No, I did. I talked to my son, and he said, "Well, there's a few of them around here," and so I started looking them up on the internet, and I found the North Raleigh Model Railroad Club, whose president, was the president of the North Model Railroad Club. North Raleigh Model Railroad Club is also the president of NRAIL, John Wallace. And John is the one that, and the North Raleigh Club introduced me to T-Trak. I was learning what they were doing. And I brought that information back to the Big Bend Model Railroad Association, the BBMRA. And we started adopting T-Trak because the N-Trak part of it was kind of dying off, and people didn't want to work on it much anymore, or take it to shows or travel. So we started doing the T-Trak, and it took off like nobody's business, and everybody joins in, and everybody loves to participate. So
I think T-Trak is a good indication of the future of the hobby in ways of keeping people involved. It's like what you say, you don't have to build anything gigantic.
Yeah, it's easily transported.
All right,
but it can be part of something gigantic.
But it can be part of something gigantic, which is really cool. All right, that's another. We'll save the North Raleigh Club for another discussion on another day.
Sure.
Kelly, can you give out our email address?
Yes. If you want to reach us through the wonders of email, you can reach us at modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modeler with one L like Raleigh, not two L's like Tallahassee.
Ooh, nicely done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That makes up for the other ones that I screwed up.
Yeah.
That one got out of here. That one got out of here in a hurry.
That one flew so far it needed a stewardess.
Man, that ball got out of here in a hurry. anything travels that far, I'd have a damn stewardess on it, don't you think?
How did he know I was going to throw a fastball? I told him.
Told him. Did you? I just talking about baseball. Did you see that post of the guy throwing the pitch and he fell over? And somebody commented about me. At least Bruce got it across.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh God! First pitch. Oh.
If you didn't catch that email address, if you go to our website, amodelerslife.com, and click on the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, the address is already filled out, and all you got to do is just put in your subject and your text, and you're good to go.
Mm.
And if you want to buy, Andy, have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
Have I ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
I asked you first.
Yeah, I know. My brain is running through all the different iterations of what that could possibly mean. So,
well, if you ever,
I'll play along. Sure.
Okay. Well, if you go to a Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com, and you scroll across the navigation bar to other, and click on AML Shop. In there, you will find a wonderland of AML merchandise: hats, hoodies, T-shirts, mugs, and along with all that other stuff, there's a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
Fastest shipping in the hobby.
Fastest shipping in the hobby. Have you ever bought anything from there, Andy?
Yes, matter of fact, the Modeler's Life shirt that I'm wearing right now.
Perfect. Ooh. There you go. And then when you're done with that, when you're done buying merchandise out of the merch shop, if you go into the regular part of the website, you can buy all sorts of stuff. Like they even have Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
And there we played the jingle.
Jingle, yep.
Yeah.
Which jingle did you play?
I don't know.
We'll have to find out. I hope it's the best one. The best one.
Which is the best one?
Oh, the Italian guy singing. Or Mexican,
I don't think it's Italian. I think it's a South American guy.
South American? Yeah.
You know, we should have a contest, and then we'll finally find out from David Hyde, who very graciously made both of those jingles come to life.
It's a great jingle.
Tom wrote
it. Then you could get a photograph of the actual person who sang it, which we could never mail to you, like Kevin with the photo of Kanye.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which we'll never mail to you.
Oh God. He's never going to live there. And plus, he came to Oregon again. Did you know that?
I know, yeah. He's got a brand new, and now he's putting up Post-it notes on his fridge telling himself how
wonderful he is. Yeah. God. I was going to post on there. Where's the Post-it? I was going to take a picture and say, and never visits Medford.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't think they wrote them for you to put them on your fridge. Kevin's wonderful. Yes, Kevin, we know that.
Oh, he's such a wonderful guy.
Yeah, he is. I think that's it. Oh, yeah. And Andy, if you enjoy this podcast, which I know you did, and there's lots of people out there listening to this free channel, and some people who even complain about things I say on the free channel.
Oh, God.
And the key for those people to remember is it's free.
That's right.
So therefore, if you don't like it, turn it off.
It's a
Feel
hobby.
free to turn it off.
Yeah,
it's a hobby.
So anyways, if you the folks that like this, if you'd like twice as much podcasting a week for just a few cents a day, every Tuesday we have on the Patreon channel. You click on the Patreon link, and boom, there's a Patreon. There's another podcast every week, and we kind of think of that as more of a homey, kind of more like the front porch. It's a little more where we just sit around and shoot the guff and talk trains, and it's just
Antics,
it's not
the Antics channel.
Yeah, it's not quite as formal. Like Andy, when we get you on there one day, if you thought you took a beating today.
Hey, bring it. I'm all about it.
Hey, he's ex-Navy. He'll be able to handle
exactly.
Right.
He's ex-Navy.
I'm a Navy chief. If I can't bear it, nobody can.
Yeah, he's still standing there. He's still standing down there on what is it, Beale Street in Memphis, waiting for his ship to come in.
Oh, my Lord. No. No Beale Street. No.
Okay, Andy, God. So now this is your part. Are you ready? At the appropriate moment, we need you to say happy rails to you. Now, the key to this is there's no singing, there's no dancing, there's no interpretation. It's just happy rails to you, said with enthusiasm. Can you handle that?
Sure.
All right. Well, Andy, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
Happy rails to you.
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of A Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
wow, that was beautiful. That was one of the best ever.
Yeah, really.
Holy mackerel. Talk about enthusiasm.
My radio voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, your radio voice. Mounds of sounds and stacks of wax.